This is the Mop-Up Men podcast. My name's Justin Trinity. Along with me is co-host Kenny Baseball. I'm going to throw out a few names for you. In the past 25 years, these are the best starting pitchers, the 5 best starting pitchers that the Yankees have developed through their system. Okay? Last 25 years. Luis Severino, number 1. Chien-Ming Wang, number 2. Phil Hughes, number 3. Ivan Nova, number 4. And number 5, what the hell?
Yeah.
All right? What are the Yankees doing wrong when it comes to developing starting pitching over the past 25 years? Since Andy Pettitte, because I know people are going to be like, oh, well, you forgot Andy Pettitte.
I guess he was like the 25th year.
He was the 25th year.
Like
he debuted in 1995.
Yeah.
This is 2020. Past 25 years, Luis Severino, Chien-Ming Wang, Phil Hughes, Ivan Nova are the best that I've come up with that the Yankees have developed. And you can throw in Ian Kennedy. Ian Kennedy pitched about 10 games for the Yankees. I'm not counting him. They traded him for Curtis Granderson in 2010. So those are the guys that I look at as being like, okay, these are bona fide starting pitchers that the Yankees have developed. Where have the Yankees gone wrong? What has happened to developing number 1, top even 1, 2, or 3 in a rotation starting pitching?
Well, I don't think the Yankees really have much of haven't really had much of a system going, like developmental pitching system going. It's almost like, I think from 1995 through like 2009, it feels like they've traded most of their talent away ahead of time. / they haven't drafted well. / their developmental pitching has been horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been terrible. You can pinpoint certain circumstances like Jabba Chamberlain. What the hell was that? Like, you have a guy that could have turned into the next great reliever. He was a great relief pitcher. They went bum on him and tried making him a starting pitcher. Disaster. Phil Hughes was supposed to be very good. Disastrous. I mean, mediocre. I don't want to say disastrous.
He wasn't disaster. He was
mediocre.
He was a guy who I thought was going to be a number 1, number 2 starting pitcher. A guy who's had between a 3 and a 5 WAR each year. He turned into a guy who was more of a 3 or a 4 star. We don't need to crap on Phil Hughes.
Phil Hughes wasn't definitely not one of their worst things.
No.
And almost the same thing as like Ivan Nova.
Yeah.
Very similar. But the thing about Phil Hughes was he also had that great postseason in 2009 that really boosted his stock as a Yankee player. So I really appreciate that as a Yankee fan. But when you look at the Yankees' development over the years, it's just not good. You got to change what you're doing there. And what I've seen that I think that they're trying to do that, they've realized that by getting a guy like Matt Blake from the Indians, because the Indians have proven, no matter who the Indians have on their team, no matter who they trade away as a starting pitcher, they still have 5 starting pitchers that they developed that are very good.
Right. I mean, you can go through player after player after player. I mean, who thought Mike Clevenger was going to be that good? Who thought Zach Plesac? Who thought that Shane Bieber was going to be that good?
Even Corey Kluber.
Even Corey Kluber. They got him as
supposed to be great. Carlos Carrasco. Yeah.
A lot of their guys were, okay prospects kind of thing. They get to AAA, they get to the major leagues, and all of a sudden they're really good pitchers, sometimes great pitchers. The Indians kind of had that process where they were able to harness certain guys' talents and turn them into top of the rotation starting pitchers. I haven't seen that with the Yankees at all.
Yeah, you don't see that from the Yankees. And if you want to go back to a previous thing we've brought up, the Dodgers is the easiest example to the Yankees because they're a big market. And the Dodgers, no matter who the starting pitcher is that goes to the Dodgers, they become better than they were before. And it's almost like the Yankees with their batting. It's like if a guy goes to the Yankees as a hitter, as a position player, they become a better hitter than they were before.
Right.
Because the Yankees have that foundation in place with their hitting that they develop the hitters better than they do the pitchers. And the Dodgers have that all aspects. But, I mean, you can see that with their pitchers. And I can guarantee you David Price becomes much better next year than he was in the Red Sox just by being on the Dodgers. And you can see that with just different guys that have gone through the Dodgers system. Rich Hill, for example. Guys, if you want to bring up other examples in the Astros are very good at developing starting pitching. They've had guys like Wade Miley come through. They've had guys like Charlie Morton come through, Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander. Ryan Presley has been very good.
Lance McCullers
is very great. Even Dallas Keuchel became much better as his career went on. And then the Indians, we've talked about all along. So if the Yankees want to become the next level. I think they've got to try and mirror what those other teams have done with their developmental staffs. And you know what? I think bringing a guy like Trevor Bauer on is going to teach you how to do that.
Yeah.
Because he was the front of the line in front of the entire league, in front of general managers, in front of whole teams, this is how you develop pitchers. Mm-hmm. He went to front line himself, and he learned how you become better by looking at specifics on spin rate, on different pitches, with the cameras, just the high-def cameras, everything. And he did this before teams did it. You bring a guy like Bauer on, he can bring your whole staff to the next level. Plus, he's worked with Matt Blake before, and he can work with Matt Blake, change a whole organization right there.
Yeah,
that's how you can do it.
You look at what he did with the Reds with Sonny Gray. He kind of turned Sonny Gray into an analytics guy, a guy who was into spin rates, the high def cameras, all that kind of stuff. And look what happened to him. He really turned it around with the Reds. But going back, you mentioned the Yankees. It's not all bad with the Yankees when it comes to their development. It really is not. There is a dichotomy within the Yankees system where it is the pitching side, they really don't come up with a whole lot. It's really guys that they sign. It's the Garrett Coles. It's the CC Sabathias that they have to, Masahiro Tanaka. They have to go out and get these guys and bring them into the organization after they're already developed and established as top of the rotation type guys. But when it comes to offensive players, the Yankees are phenomenal when it comes to bringing in guys. Gio Urshela, who was an afterthought with the Indians, an afterthought with the Blue Jays. He comes into the Yankees, hits .314 his first year, .298 the second year, plays great defense. They go out and they trade Giovanni Gallegos to the Cardinals. They bring in Luke Voit. Luke Voit, look what he's turned into, one of the premier power hitters in baseball. They come up with position player after position player. Go back, Robinson Cano. He's one of the best offensive second basemen in the history of Major League Baseball. Came through the Yankees system recently. You look at Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is a top 10 player, top 5 player in baseball when he's on the field. Aaron Hicks, they bring him over for the Twins. He's a defensive-minded, on-base percentage guy. He comes to the Yankees, and when he's on the field, he's raked.
Mike Tauchman,
was an afterthought with the Rockies. He comes over to the Yankees,
all-around
good in the field, very good at the plate. It's player after player. Gleyber Torres comes up with the Yankees.
Yeah.
They don't have
Didi Gregorius. DJ LeMahieu,
yep.
Even him. I mean, honestly, the Yankees are unbelievable at developing their hitters. It's actually off the charts. It's one after the other. They're just developing guys that have not been good beforehand. Scott Brosius-esque guys.
Yeah. It's the Cashman era. That was the dawning of the Cashman era. What does he do? First move, he brings in Scott Brosius. He's like, okay, this guy, I know he can field, and there's something about the Yankees organization that can impress hitting upon a player. I don't know what it is. I'm not in the organization. I don't know what their tricks are. But Scott Brosius went from a defensive-minded player to a guy who could play defense, and all of a sudden he's a 300 hitter and a World Series
and he's
MVP.
Batting 9. Yeah,
and he's hitting 8th in their order.
Yeah, it's insane. Like they're very great at developing hitters for their team, and it's been off the charts since 2016. It's been one after the other, and they've been better than even the Dodgers in doing that. And the one thing the reason we're so harsh on them is because the one thing they're lacking is development in starting pitching, not even in relief pitching, because the Yankees have developed their own relief pitchers also. They've had Dave Robertson. They've had Chad Green, who they've turned Chad Green into one of the elite relief pitchers in the league.
Dellin Betances.
Yeah, Dellin Betances is the prime example of that. And we're not going to go back to the 90s with Mariano Rivera because, obviously that's the greatest example of all time. But you bring up even guys recently, and they've been good at failed. That's the thing, though, is all these relief pitchers that have become good on the Yankees are failed starting pitchers.
Yep.
If they were on the Indians, maybe they would have been great starting pitchers instead of great relief pitchers.
Yep.
Which I don't know it's good that they can turn somebody that's failed in one area into a success in the other. But you want to be able to turn somebody into a success where they're supposed to be a success from the start.
Right.
Like the Indians have done, the Astros, the Rays. Not necessarily the Rays, but like teams like that Dodgers have done throughout their whole time here. And Yankees need to get to that next level by being able to develop starting pitchers, not just turning failed starting pitchers into relief pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what it is. I don't know what they need to fix developmentally going through the minor leagues. Severino's been a guy who I think was on that track, but the reason that he's not thought more highly of is because he has had injuries, which is going to happen. But how come we haven't had 4 Severinos? How come we haven't had 4 Chin-Ming Wongs?
And you know what I think, though, is a prime example, the fallen angel. You can look at Sonny Gray right away. I mean, he came onto the R2C2 podcast right away. Sonny Gray comes on.
With Trevor Bauer.
With Trevor Bauer and CeCe. After he was a failed Yankee starter, he became a very good Red starter. You could see how he wasn't given the resources he needed on the Yankees to develop into that starting pitcher he needed to be. Once he went to the Reds, you can kind of tell that the Reds had a little better system going. Plus, they got a guy like Bauer who probably advanced that system, and he brought a guy like Sonny Gray under his wing, and then all of a sudden he made Sonny Gray that much better because that's what Sonny Gray was looking for when he joined the Yankees. He never had those resources when he was on the Yankees.
Exactly, and you can even go back to a guy like Javier Vazquez. Vazquez, his down spots in his career were when he was on the Yankees.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal with the Expos. He was solid with the Diamondbacks and the White Sox, and then
the Braves.
And the Braves. He had a phenomenal season in 2009.
Yeah.
The Yankees bring him back in 2010, and he's back to having a 5 ERA.
Yeah.
A.J. Burnett's another example. He has the one really good year with the Yankees, 2 bad years after that, and then they trade him to the Pirates, and he's a top 3 starting pitcher again.
Ivan Nova.
Ivan Nova goes to the Pirates, pitches well. It's almost like you get a guy from the Yankees. And it's like, oh, okay, well, now he's going to be a top-of-the-rotation starting pitcher.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about the Yankees. They have so much trouble developing starting pitching from within their system.
And I would actually say that's the leading cause of them not winning World Series since 2002 and on, honestly. Mm-hmm. I would like to even say 2004 and on because I think 2003 earlier was almost like that was almost a piece of the old era.
2002 was almost a fluke that they lost to the Angels, who eventually won the World Series.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, that just wasn't their year. They pick up right where they left off in 2003.
And 2003, they had a great starting rotation. They should have won the World Series that year. And then 2004 is just the year of, they just had abysmal starting pitching. Like, what are you putting out there in 04 and on?
Yeah. 04 was
terrible.
04 was,
starting pitching, horrible.
04 was kind of like the first year of like the new chapter of Yankees almost.
Yeah, it was.
And people look at, that was the year they had A-Rod. Okay, A-Rod was not the problem for the Yankees going from 2004 on. I know it's really easy to point fingers at A-Rod and say he didn't hit in the postseason, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he was an MVP in the regular season, and then it shut off in the postseason. I'm sorry, guys didn't hit. A-Rod was not the only player in that lineup that didn't hit. And the reason they didn't win those series in 2004 through 7 was because they couldn't pitch.
Yeah, they didn't have the starting pitching there.
They didn't have the starting pitching. You cannot point to a position player and say, that's the reason we didn't win. You can't do it.
Yeah, they did not have the starting pitching from 2004 until present to really win championships.
Other than 2009, and that was the only year.
And they didn't even have the starting pitching that year to win. They won because they were just so much better than everybody else with their talent on the field.
Yeah.
Because they had 3 starting pitchers through the whole postseason. Like, How many
teams
who
their number
can do
4
that?
starter was? Sergio Mitre.
Yeah,
and you wonder why they went with a 3-man rotation.
And it wasn't even like their bullpen was knockout great. Like, they had guys that stepped up in their role, and they had Mariano Rivera.
Yep.
Then they had a very good batting order.
I mean, their lineup was
awesome.
disgusting.
Yeah, that's the thing that led them, and that's what they've been leaning on ever since. They've been very good at developing great hitters. Ever since, honestly, since 2004, their hitters have been very good all the way through the line. And their starting pitching has been below what you need to win a championship ever since 2004. And their hitters have had their moments in the postseason where they've turned off when you've needed them in order to put you over the top. But the main problem is not the hitters, it's the pitching. Their starting pitching has been the problem since 2004 and on. And 2009 they got away with it. And that was the exception. And that's not... that you got to come back to the problem at the end of the day, and I hope that's what Brian Cashman's looking at now. He got Matt Blake last year. I hope he's looking at that now as the way to solve it.